Welcome back to another episode of South Bay Buzz podcast. I'm your host, Megan Libri, and I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, Sandy Cohen. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the pod.
I'm delighted.
Sandy Cohen is a South Bay native and a health and wellness expert. I met her through her health and wellness writing, and I really want to let folks know that when I first met you, it was on a Zoom call. And one of the first things I noticed about you was your fabulous and vibrant, beautiful purple hair. And I have to know, your purple hair, has it become part of who you are and your personal brand? I'm curious if there's a deeper meaning behind how you chose the color and what it means to you.
Thank you for asking me about that. I do love my purple hair, and I would say that I do feel like it's part of me now. I've been wearing it this color for more than 5 years. Once I left my last corporate job, I was like, why not have a little fun with it? Purple is my favorite. So that's why I started doing it purple. And then I have just loved it. And I get so many comments on it. I feel like it's disarming to people. It's kind of subdued purple, if there is such a thing.
It's lovely. It very much suits your personality.
Thank you for saying that.
So a lot of your writing is focused now in health and wellness, but let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about how you transitioned from your entertainment journalism to your personal and professional interest in health and wellness. What sparked this shift for you, and how has your LA or South Bay roots influenced your approach to wellness?
I worked for about 12 and a half years for the Associated Press covering entertainment. It was a very high profile, high excitement, high pressure job. I would go to the Oscars, the Grammys, everything that happened here in LA. I would cover it. It was a very exciting job for a long time. It was also really high pressure and high demand, a lot of work hours. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to be very good at this job because so many eyeballs were on it. And through this unyielding pressure that I put on myself, I started having health problems. I started having mood issues. I thought I had a flu. I actually went to the doctor and they were like, sounds like you're really stressed. But I hadn't perceived it as stress. I hadn't put it together in that way. I'm trying to be excellent at my job. I was also coping in some unhealthy ways. I was drinking a lot of wine, smoking a lot of weed, and it was just a lot. And then I wasn't doing the other things that are healthy to do. I wasn't really seeing my family very much. I wasn't exercising very much. I wasn't sleeping very much. So all of these things caused me to have health problems that I felt like I was kind of too young to have. That inspired me to try and fix it. I was able to make some changes while still at the job. I was able to get more sleep. I practiced boundaries and saying no to stuff. But ultimately, I ended up with a diagnosis of depression, which was pretty severe. And I had to make some more significant strides towards my health. But all of that inspired a real curiosity about, well, what does it take to thrive? Because I thought to thrive, you just needed to be really successful at your job. I was really successful at my job, but I was totally not thriving. That's what inspired the shift. The more I learned about well-being, particularly evidence-based practices for well-being, and the more I implemented those, the better I felt. Go figure.
Yeah.
And then it made me think other people should know this because so many of my friends were also real high achievers and we're all like, this is how we're going to love our life. And very few of us were loving our life unless we were on vacation or like we loved our life for one evening when we had a real great time. I've been really grateful to be able to write about this stuff and share this stuff that's meant so much to me. And the role that the South Bay plays in it for me is this is my home. I feel so at home here. Even the whole time I was working, covering Hollywood, I stayed living in Redondo Beach because I felt like at the end of all this high energy kind of organized chaos, I could come home to the chill of Redondo Beach. And that has been a grounding force for me throughout this.
Yes. And to your point, that's so much of what society has taught us. The more that you do and the more that you give and you give. And at some point, your body almost says to you, it either tells you have to slow down and it forces you that way, or something clicks in your head and you're like, oh gosh, this is really not working for me anymore. I love that even through all of the chaos, the South Bay being at your home in Redondo continue to be a grounding place for you. Are there certain outdoor places or even indoor spaces that have been particularly nourishing for you over the years?
One of my favorite things to do, and it has been one of my favorite things to do since I was 12 years old, got a bike for my birthday. I got a 10-speed, now I ride a cruiser, but is to bike ride on the Strand. Biking on the Strand is my happy place. Whenever I'm out there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. This is right outside my door. I have my own bike and I can leave my house with my bike and be on that Strand in minutes, go for as long as you want and get the fresh air and the people watching and look at the waves and the plants and the birds. I just love it.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. A lot of people feel the same way. I know I do. So taking what you have just talked about, especially leaving such a chaotic world and thinking of chaotic schedules, in your mission to make wellness more practical and accessible, what are some simple practices that you've found that could help busy women connect with themselves despite hectic schedules?
One reason I'm so passionate about making wellness accessible is I think it's been totally commodified that wellness is something you buy and it's $178 and it's a candle. Or
It's a candle.
one thing I would say for us busy women is let's slow down, build in wiggle room. I used to schedule myself so back to back that if anything ran late, now I'm a nervous wreck for each thing. Whereas if I would have just built in a little window, that I could have been more relaxed throughout my appointments. Know that everything generally takes longer than you think it will and allow for that instead of pretending like that's the exception.
Yeah.
No, that's the rule. One really accessible practice, take a breath when you come to a stoplight. Take a breath. Just take one conscious breath. If you are not driving for whatever reason, you can do this when you leave the house, when you return to the house, when you walk from one room to another. Take 4 seconds to have a breath that you pay attention to and just watch yourself calm down. We move so fast, we don't even pay attention to our breathing, which, hello, sustains life. This is accessible to all of us. The hard part is remembering, right?
Such a beautiful reminder of how like small changes can have big ripple effects over time. So I know you mentioned Shondaland. Having written the mental health column for shondaland.com, what have you observed about the relationship between authenticity and mental well-being, particularly for women in midlife?
Authenticity is being who we are, how we are. When we maintain some kind of appearance, this takes a lot of energy. And we're already giving so much energy to our life, to our work obligations, family obligations, community, everything else, keeping our house clean, etc. Being willing to be ourselves, even though we're not perfect, is actually a comforting thing to do at midlife. It might be a little easier, just a little, just like a hair easier, because we've had more experience being ourselves and we know ourselves better, and we might be a little less swayed by what everybody's doing. You're like, yeah, but I don't like it. Or that's not for me. That's just not who I am. So I do think that is a benefit of midlife is you do know yourself. You've had now 4 decades of being yourself. And so you do know what you really like. And also maybe you get a better sense of this resonates with me, this vibes with me, or this is really hard, this feels weird. And I think you may have a greater inclination to listen to it at midlife. But I think the more we age, the more we can just settle into ourselves. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and let's lean into our strengths and let's embrace our weaknesses for what they are. They're not the whole of us. That's where I think authenticity supports well-being. It's shedding this need to be some kind of vision of perfection that might not even be our vision of perfection. So when we can define for ourselves, this is what's important to me, this is what I value, and then act along those lines, our well-being is going to improve.
At least I feel like as I've gotten older, the conversation has shifted so much in terms of how, whether you've become a parent or you're caregiving for somebody in your family, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to show your vulnerability and we can learn from each other and those challenges. If you're doing something different than somebody else, that's okay too. It's really important to be true to who you are and to follow that. But it gets easier not only over time, but as you get more comfortable with who you are and what your values are. And the more you know about yourself,
What you
helps
said,
guide you.
what you said about vulnerability is really true. You think about it, like the things that make us feel close to one another are those moments of vulnerability. If you've ever cried at a movie or even a commercial,
Yeah, I was going to say.
it's because of the vulnerability you're witnessing on screen. And it's speaking to the vulnerability in you. As humans, we are so much more alike than we are unalike. We all feel pain. We all want to be liked. We all have insecurity. We all have moments of uncertainty. That is where we all have loss.
Mm-hmm.
That is where we can meet. That's where you can meet somebody who you have nothing else in common with. And so that vulnerability is really, it makes sense that we protect ourselves because we don't want to be hurt. We don't want our tender, vulnerable parts to get crushed. But that is actually where we can most connect with each other.
I know. And the huge reason why I wanted to talk with you, because I think you have a beautiful gift that makes people feel really comfortable. I just hope that people, when they listen to this, can feel your joy and your spark, because you are really special. When you read your writing, it comes through as well. So we're going to shift just a little bit, but still going to stay in thinking about this wellness philosophy to tie you back to the South Bay, because I know it means a lot to you and it means a lot to us here. How do you think the South Bay's unique culture and lifestyle has shaped your wellness philosophy? And in particular, do you have any local resources that you recommend for men and women looking to prioritize your health?
That's a great question. It has shaped me just because everything in my history is all South Bay. Just being at the beach, hiking in Palos Verdes. I have so many memories of doing that as a kid. I was able to walk to school. I went to Madrona. It was in elementary school. Then it came in middle school. I went to Torrance High School. So I just, have been in this community and around this community. In terms of resources, boy, are we lucky to be able to go outside all year round. One of my favorite places is the Redondo Beach Library.
Oh, yes. Main Library, North Branch, all of it.
Main Library is the one I can walk
Yes.
to. I also love the Torrance Katie Geisert Library. We are so lucky to have these wonderful libraries right here in our community. And the people who work there help you find anything. I love that. Beach Cities Health District is another wonderful resource. They've got a gym there. I think you have to pay to join the gym. They have classes, all different kinds of classes, and they're really nominally priced, which is wonderful. South Bay Adult School. I haven't taken a class there in a long time, but I took salsa dancing there and it was awesome. And it's another really affordable option. They've got all kinds of stuff. So it's not just academic classes. They have really fun, playful classes. The advantage of remaining a learner throughout your life. There's a ton of science behind it. Really good for you. I found salsa dancing to be a wonderful stress reliever, not because I'm a great dancer, but because I had to think so much about the beat that I could not be thinking about deadlines, to-do lists, anything else. So those are some of my South Bay favorites.
Thank you for sharing that about the South Bay Adult School. This is a learning moment for me. Those are great resources. All right. Now, I am really excited to hear what you're going to say about this. As a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, what's your perspective on finding genuine joy through mindfulness, especially during challenging times?
I love that you asked this question. The more I learn about mindfulness, the more I think it can be the foundation of all well-being. Mindfulness is simply paying attention to the present moment with curiosity and openness and a willing to be with the moment. We are almost never mindful. They've done studies on this, so I know this is true. We're almost always thinking about what we're going to do next or thinking about something that already happened. And we're very rarely in the present moment.
Hey, can I pause and ask, do we know why?
It has to do with our brain and the default mode network of the brain, which is the self-referential part of the brain. So we're always thinking about ourselves and what does this mean for me? And why did they say that to me? I shouldn't have said that, or I need to do this. Part of our brain causes us to be self-focused. What mindfulness does is it helps us train that out a little bit. It helps us turn the volume down a little bit. So maybe not from a 10 to a 2, but from a 10 to an 8 or a 10 to a 7, to turn down that self-referential rumination and actually be in the present moment. And what we find is the present moment is almost always okay. I am the person who, like, I always heard that meditation was good for you, but I just wanted the benefits without the practice, because sitting with your own self kind of sucks. You see how your mind is running all the time, and then you feel like, ew, I don't want to sit with you. This is so unpleasant. But when you get past that, then you can really practice present moment awareness. I will give you an example. So in the morning, I usually sit and have my coffee and I write in my journal. My cat usually sits in my lap. And I, take this as like, this is what we do. I sit down here with my coffee, you sit in my lap. And I was petting her and she's purring. And I had the awareness of like, this is happy that I am coffee. I'm still in my pajamas. I've got my cat in my lap. She's purring. This is happiness. And yet I would breeze past this moment because I got to drink my coffee and let me finish doing my journaling because I got to log in for work. And being aware of the present moment let me enjoy the precious ordinariness of petting my cat in my lap while I drink my coffee. And there's moments like this that we are missing all the time. And so mindfulness to me is you want to deepen the richness of life, and you don't have to go anywhere to do it. You don't have to buy anything to do it. This is available to you. And if you want to deepen the richness of life, practice being present. It's helpful too, because it's during the pandemic when everything was happening with George Floyd and things just felt really scary and really uncertain. Having these practices, having a mindfulness practice and having a journaling habit was so grounding to me. It was like a place I could go. And everything is tumultuous, but I can sit here, feel myself sitting here, and know that I am in this moment solid and safe. And that's really valuable. It also is helpful for difficult moments because it lets us experience what we're experiencing, even if we don't like it, rather than distract myself from it. Pour me a glass of wine, or let's go out somewhere and try and distract. Let me buy stuff. All the ways we distract ourselves from our feelings. It allows you to be present with it, because when you practice mindfulness, you see that everything is ephemeral. All your thoughts and feelings are ephemeral, right? They don't last. They're passing. And that allows you to be with it a little more easily. It doesn't erase grief. You're still going to have grief and any other emotion. All the normal emotions, you're still going to have them. But at least you can be with it. Oh, this is grief. This feels like sadness. And then you'll notice lightness and joy and ease, contentment in all the same way, all on the menu of human experiences. And mindfulness lets you be with it with a little more ease and grace.
Thank you. It is interesting to hear how you came to be with it, and especially how you describe it. The visual you just shared of you and your cat and the coffee and the sunlight is such a beautiful example of appreciating and soaking in those simple moments. Like you said, we all have that version somewhere in our lives, hopefully happening even multiple times during the day, that we can just soak it in. And something that you said too that really resonated, and I imagine will resonate with others as well, is that when you mentioned the challenging times, some of these practices you ideally want to have in your back pocket already. And so it's a beautiful thing to already be doing some of them. And what comes up for me is when my mom died 8 years ago, I was doing therapy, and I'm still in therapy to this day. Of course, the things we talk about have changed. But when you do the hard work of acknowledging your emotions and really processing your feelings and being present to those feelings, like you said, then you get a little more comfortable with being in it. And the grief, there's this beautiful imagery of you grow around the grief. The grief doesn't grow around you. So that's kind of what I was thinking about, like the mindfulness too. It's just more of a habit that you're practicing, and it becomes easier to do. So, but like you said, you can't really get the benefits without the practice.
Do it. I wish that you could just like, can I drink a mindfulness shake in the morning? Because that would be so much easier. Can I talk a little bit about how to get started with the practice?
I would love that.
So you do have to practice it. And ideally, you'd practice daily, or at least most days. The way to start, the way I started, is by setting the timer on my phone for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And I would sit there, and for those 2 minutes, I would try to just watch my breath. Within about 1 nanosecond, I was already thinking about stuff. And then I would be sitting there and be like, how is it not 2 minutes yet? This is the longest 2 minutes. Did I forget to set the timer? Yeah. This kind of uncomfortableness with watching your own thoughts may be your experience at first, but it will not always be that way. If you can sit and watch your breath for 2 minutes in the mornings or whenever you have the time to do it, and eventually maybe go to 5. If you practice mindfulness 5 minutes a day, you will notice the difference in your life. It is important to get that basis going so that it becomes a resource you can draw from. Even still, for me, some days my thoughts are all over the place. And I'll sit for 25 minutes. And the whole time I'm like, blah, 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 this on White Lotus. And, like, and then I'm like, oh yeah, breathing. So perfection isn't the goal. It's the practice of it that develops that skill that can pull you out of that self-referential part of your brain.
Amazing. Thank you. How do you approach wellness education with integrity and scientific backing while keeping it accessible?
Having the science can help people who are like, wellness is a bunch of hooey, or it's just some new age, la, la, la. Knowing the science is really helpful. The field of positive psychology, which is the study of mental thriving as opposed to the study of mental illness, this positive psychology field is relatively new. It emerged in the mid-90s. Knowing that this field is now really robust and there's a lot of studies, we know what works to make us feel better. To me, that's reassuring because I don't have to take stabs in the dark. I don't have to buy the $178 candle and then wonder why I'm not feeling any better. We know the strategies that work. One of the things I feel I've been really lucky to be able to do is help demystify that science, help put it into layperson language so that we can all understand it. We've talked before about our graduate program, so we've read a lot of scientific studies, and being able to translate that into regular English is a way to make it accessible. And because we know it's science-backed, then I think it's reliable. That's where that integrity comes in. But I also don't think science has all the answers. I really also draw from wisdom traditions. For instance, with meditation, practice for 2,600 years. It's only been studied for the last 30. But the studies are confirming what the ancients taught. The benefits that they said come from meditation, studies now confirm that, yeah, they do. So I think if we go with these time-tested or science-backed ideas, we are in integrity. And as long as we talk about how ordinary people can do it, like 2 minutes felt really long when I started meditating. Don't sit down and expect, like, you're not doing it wrong if you sit down and it feels really hard. I think that also makes it accessible. Like I'm an ordinary, busy person. I don't live in an ashram or don't come from any blessed kind of background. So that I hope makes it accessible too.
Whether it's a 2-minute meditation or a guided 5 or 10-minute meditation, I always walk away being like, oh, I should do that more.
It's hard to make time for it when you're really busy. And it's hard to make time for it when you're like, is it really benefiting me? Because it takes a while to feel the benefit. You know what? It's like working out.
Yeah.
If you're like, I'm working
so
out. How
true.
come I don't look like any stronger or fitter? It takes a while before you can see it. And I had a friend say, I don't know if I really have time for this. You make time for the things that you want to do. You make time to exercise. You make time to get a blowout. I feel like knowing the benefits and knowing that that's where science really helps, or like the ancient backing, I think is a helpful incentive when you haven't seen the benefits yet.
If you're like me, I do have to schedule it. And that's okay. You do what you need to do. It's easier for me to do it if I'm outside or if it's at nighttime and I'm at home, because I truly can do it without getting distracted. So it's also just like knowing yourself. And when you get started, it's low hanging fruit. If that means you're at home, if you're a parent, kids are asleep, and it's before you go to bed, whatever it is, the first step is getting started.
And start small.
So start small.
I used habit stacking as a strategy when I wanted to start my mindfulness practice. I make coffee every morning. When I would turn on the coffee maker, that was my cue to practice. Now it's time I'm going to do my 2 minutes, my excruciatingly long 2 minutes. That helps because now it feels like a habit.
Yeah.
And then my coffee's done and I'm good to go.
That's amazing. I love it. What role do you think our community plays in individual wellness, and how can women better support each other's health journey?
There's kind of only community. We're all connected, not just here in the South Bay, but with all living things, breathing oxygen that all the other living things breathe and that the trees are giving us, and then they're taking our carbon dioxide. We are all connected. And even as we were talking about vulnerability, experiencing emotions, this connects us to all humans. We are individuals as part of a community. I think maybe one of the ways, and not just for women, but for everybody, is let's try to give each other benefit of the doubt. Let's try to practice kindness. Let somebody go in front of you on the freeway. It's easy to do and it's not going to make you late. Why not? Mm-hmm. These kinds of things seem like nothing, but they're not nothing. They totally matter. And extending kindness and grace and patience wherever you can is a gift to your fellow humans and a huge gift to you. As we talked about earlier, let's slow down. Let's not be in such a rush.
I'll never forget this past Christmas. I was leaving a store in the South Bay and I had my twins, and they decided right there in the parking lot in the middle of cars driving that they decided they were going to have a full-blown meltdown. So many people walked by me, and I'm like one person with these two little cherubs. I did not know how I was going to get them to the car with my bag and the two of them. This woman came up to me and she just looked at me and said, "Where are we going?" And I was so disarmed because so many people had walked by me. I just looked at her and I said, "This car over here." She said, "Hand me your bag. I'll walk with you." I was able to pick up both boys as they were crying, and we walked right there. And she just was like, "You got this. You're okay. Do you need anything else? Thank you so much." And it was the kindest, most wonderful thing. If you ever hear this, thank you. You have no idea the impact you left on me. It's amazing how those little acts of kindness.
I got chills when you said that. I could feel that. I could feel that. It's one of those things where what did it cost her? 1 minute?
Maybe.
And what did it give you?
I mean,
1
everything.
million good feelings.
I've got one more question. Thinking about your mini meditation Mondays, your podcast called Inner Peace to Go, and upcoming book are beautiful ways that you show your commitment to sharing wellness wisdom. What legacy do you hope to create through your work?
Well, thank you for that question. I have not thought about legacy before. I really just hope to help anyone to be a beacon, a reminder, or a source of inspiration to anybody who did what I did, which was derive my entire self-worth from my work. I got into such a funk from that, from believing in that and then being so disappointed. Like, wait, I'm at the top of my game. Why am I not overjoyed? Why am I so miserable? And I think a lot of us get into that, especially type A people, high achiever types. We're like, okay, if I super succeed, everything's going to be awesome for me. And whether you are a celebrity, a professional, or whatever you are, we all need these same wellness steps. There's no hack for it. If I would have a legacy, I hope I can be part of the chorus of voices who are sharing this kind of wisdom about, dude, take care of yourself, be kind to others, enjoy the moments where your cat is in your lap, enjoy the kindness of a stranger when your kids are having a meltdown. Life is passing quickly. It's passing quickly. And these rich moments that we speed past to check something off our to-do list or to reach the next achievement, these are actually the moments of life. This is the good stuff. Let's soak in it. I want to be part of that message. I've had so many wonderful teachers who have taught me this, and I just want to pass it on.
I think you are doing an exceptional job at that. So thank you so much for being here. Where can folks find you on social media, your website? Where can we find you?
Thank you so much. I am on Instagram at the Sandy Cohen, and I do Instagram Live meditation on Mondays. Come and join me for a 5-minute dose of chill. And you can also find me at innerpeacetogo.com, which has my podcast. I am contributing to shondaland.com, so you can find my work there. I've had a couple pieces recently in the LA Times, and I have a writing website if you want to catch up with more of my writing, which is Sandy Cohen Writes.
Thank you, Sandy. And we will see you next week at South Bay Buzz, the podcast.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Bye.